Hello, my name is Russell Myers. Welcome to Issues Unite. For the past couple of weeks, I have been seeing a rising tide of the claim that Bernie would have won. Stop. Just stop. First of all, this is a completely useless argument. There's no reason to invest your energy into this. It has nothing positive to offer. The past is the past. Beyond that, one should consider a number of factors. It is clear that many people are not going to want to think about these things, but they need to think about them anyway. None of this is intended to attack Bernie supporters. Supporters. I draw a distinction later on. This is meant to be a narrative to close that door and move forward. We have to move forward. All right, it is abundantly clear that Bernie is enslaved to the DNC. At no point has he stood up against the DNC, Obama, Hillary, Pelosi, Schumer, or Biden. It has not mattered what actions they took to suppress or directly attack him, Tulsi Gabbard, or any other person remotely progressive. Yet you must consider that when the DNC elite suppress progressives, it is the will of the American people who believe in progressive values and policies who are in fact being suppressed and attacked. Yes, he would have won if he had stood up and fought. He did not fight. He steadfastly refused to be aggressive or even objectively critical of Biden in the 2020 primary, just as he never called out the DNC fraud or media attacks and censorship of 2016. He had 4 years to do so, and he never fought. Actually, he had 5 years. And we got nothing. When the DNC says bow down, Bernie bows down. I fanatically supported Bernie in the 2016 primary. If you go back and watch the debates from before the 2016 convention, he focused on issues and policies. He did not allow the discussion to be diverted to nonsensical theatrics. In addition, he barely mentioned Trump at all. Then, the moment the convention was over, everything about him changed. Since the 2016 convention, his rhetoric has been focused on Trump. He supported first Clinton and then Biden. In each case, he surrendered with absolutely no substantive concessions from the nominees crowned by the DNC. The furthest he has gone was gaining a theatrical joint commission between the Biden and Sanders campaigns. Problem was, there was no requirement for Biden to act on the determinations of that commission. When Biden spoke the words, "I am the DNC," Sanders was silent. Not one word of dissent. When Biden said that the party platform was what Biden himself had approved, Sanders remained silent. When Biden said, "I beat the socialist," and made it clear he would not support the Green New Deal, a title stolen letter for letter from the Green Party, Sanders never spoke a word of objection and has not, even now. He acts as a ventriloquist puppet for the DNC. When the DNC says Trump, Sanders says Trump. When the DNC says Russia, Sanders says Russia. The list goes on and on. If the DNC says Clinton, Biden, Venezuela, China, those are the words you will hear from Sanders. Take your pick, and you will never find a single word of derision coming from him. He merely repeats what has been dictated to him without question and without exception. The problem is not Sanders. It is his fanatical followers. I make a clear distinction between energetic and fanatical here. When Sanders bows down, they bow down. When the DNC says Clinton or Biden or Russia, Sanders repeats the chant, and his fanatical followers then chant the same words in return like a religious ceremony. The DNC controls him, he controls his followers. This is the definition of a sheepdog and a cult mentality. It is the absolute definition. His followers may find those terms offensive, but think how offensive their behavior is to we who truly support revolutionary, radical, progressive change. Yet their behavior is completely within their control. They make that choice. This is not a revolution. Take a look through history at actual revolutions. Revolutions may have leaders, but the actual revolution itself is based on ideals which are not negotiable. The French Revolution was not a short, decisive event. It lasted for many years and cost many lives. The Mexican Revolution lasted years and cost many lives. We would like to avoid all that loss of life if we can. Most people associate the Mexican Revolution with Pancho Villa, but he was only one of many revolutionary leaders of Mexico at that time. He was betrayed multiple times, hunted by two governments, sentenced to death, but instead jailed, from which he escaped. Eventually he was pardoned, yet later assassinated years after the revolution was over. The thing is, no matter what the consequence, he still kept going. He didn't bow to any threat. All right? Americans think of the Russian Revolution as being completely led by Lenin, yet it involved numerous factions with differing agendas striving against one another. The same is true with Castro and Cuba. Yes, you can always criticize revolutionary leaders for their tactics or post-revolutionary behavior. However, none of that happens in a vacuum or without internal and external influence. The point being that revolutions are not simple. All revolutions have many factions and many agendas. As far as leadership is concerned, leaders do not make revolutions. Revolutions create leaders. They choose leaders. You cannot kill an idea. Revolutions are not events composed and led by singular characters. Revolutions are a collection of ideas supported by a majority of citizens who are oppressed and rising up against that oppression. If a revolution depended on one individual, they would be easy to prevent or destroy. This is not the case. Leaders do not create revolutions. Revolutions choose leaders who are unlikely to surrender but will lead to the agenda, the idea, the goals of the revolution. You can kill a person. You cannot kill an idea. If one leader of a revolution falls in some way or betrays the revolution, they are easily replaced by a new leader. If a leader surrenders to the oppressors, a revolution may be delayed, but it is never defeated. Revolutions form over years and involve highly identifiable incidents and patterns of unrest before they coalesce into an actual revolution. And this is where we are now. The ideas which Sanders has propagated began long before 2015 and have been growing for decades before he was viewed as coming to the fore, long before many had even heard his name. We progressives have been discussing universal health care for many years, at the very least since the early 90s, but the discussion has been around since the 1920s in this country. We have discussed stagnant wages since the early 2000s when compared to inflation. Student loans have been a problem for many years. Remember Occupy Wall Street? That was in 2011 to 2012. Many of us voiced dissent against NAFTA, the disastrous welfare reform of the 90s, and the 1994 crime bill. Millions of us protested in one way or another against the invasion of Iraq and the bombing of Libya. I personally protested against the invasions of Afghanistan and Iraq. Yet so many hold up Sanders as a revolutionary leader, when all of this happened well before 2015. Their leader has surrendered to the very same political forces that the revolution seeks to depose and defeat. In past revolutions, traitors to a revolution would have suffered a far worse fates than he has virtually any chance of enduring. People have to accept the fact that if he had been elected, he would have remained a servant to the DNC elite. He would have enslaved all of his own followers to the same oppressors that have enslaved him. We don't need a leader. Yes, it is fine to support, endorse, and applaud policies that Sanders or anyone else proposes in Congress if the policies are truly progressive. Just stop throwing around the would have argument. It no longer holds any bearing or relevance. He is not, has not been, and will never be a revolutionary leader. Yet, we don't need a leader. We need organizers. A wide array of organizers fighting for similar agendas. different groups can merge on specific issues and diverge on others. The more widely we disperse our convergent efforts, the more targets and tactics the oligarchy will be forced to contend with, and the higher our chances of forcing each individual issue into the mainstream popular narrative and convincing ever more people to our cause by open discussion and debate. It is far more difficult to discredit, slander, and demonize numerous organized movements involving a huge percentage of the population than it is one single movement, one single leader. Revolutionary change starts at the bottom. If we want revolutionary change, it does not begin at the top. It begins at the bottom. From ending slavery to racial rights to suffrage to laws against family violence to anything else that you can name which benefits the people, change has always been difficult to attain and has started from a small minority of voices which grew in number and power. It is obvious we do not have much time in which to implement many of the most critical changes we need. However, those issues are already well established in the mainstream consciousness. Look forward, not back. The fact that change comes from the bottom is precisely why we have to focus on the present and the future. We have to focus on solutions, not wailing emotionally over past events. We have to coordinate our efforts at numerous levels, from the local to the state to the national to the global, if we want real, effective, realistic, lasting change. Looking backward at what could have been will never accomplish this or anything else. It is wasted time and energy which we can no longer afford. I think we've seen quite enough waste. Don't you? All right, so that's it that I'm going to say on this. Please share this video. Talk about these subjects. And if you can, please donate $1 a month to help expand the channel. All right, I hope you have a good day, and I will see you in the next one.